Hello, it's me, Bill Gallagher, aka ThrabenU, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. Magic Online is currently in downtime to get Aether Drift online, and while that's happening, I still need to be recording. So today I want to talk to you about what it's like to be a YouTuber, what has gone on in the channel in the next year, what I am expecting to happen in 2025, and all that sort of stuff. So, no gameplay today, but if you want to kind of hear about the human being side of ThrabenU, that's kind of what today is going to be about. So, buckle up, I'll sort it by section if you're interested in just seeing something like, what were the top decks of this year, or anything like that. There'll be timestamps down below for that purpose. All right, first off, let's just start with some raw stats, because let's face it, many of you are going to be number nerds, and this sort of thing is interesting to hear about. It was a good year for Thraben University in terms of viewership and watch hours, although it's very similar to the previous year in terms of stats. So, in terms of watch hours, we are at 1.2 million watch hours in 2024 and 4.2 million views. It is always wild to me to think that anything that I, as a human being, could ever accomplish would be measured with the number million. So looking at that number and going like, wow, I got 4 million views this year, that is still mind-boggling to me. In recent enough memory, there were videos that I was putting out that got 20 views, 100 views, 150 views, and that was the normal, and that's what I thought was possible as a content creator for legacy. And that was frankly not true, especially in the area, or rather the period of time around the COVID lockdown, or around 2020. I started taking content seriously, and I had an absolutely meteoric rise as I learned to do some degree of editing, learned to make thumbnail, learned how all the back-end YouTube stuff worked to make that successful. At this time, I have largely found my audience. Most of the people who play Legacy know who I am, at least if you are going to be someone who is actively looking to consume Legacy content. I'm not hard to find at this point. The channel picked up 4,000 new subs last year, which is fine. I am not expecting the crazy growth that I had forever. Only so many people can afford to play Legacy or are interested in Legacy as a format. And honestly, in the grand scheme of YouTube, Magic the Gathering itself is kind of small. So I have wiggled my butt and settled in to be a small subset of Magic the Gathering, so my channel is not going to have mass appeal. So I might pick up a couple hundred new subscribers each month, and that is okay with me. I am not looking at the data going, oh my gosh, why am I not getting 500 or 1,000 new viewers each month? And the answer is because they simply aren't there. But the people who do enjoy my content are coming back consistently, and that is telling me that I am doing good work. Giving you some lifetime numbers for comparison, I am up to about 14 million views lifetime on the channel and about 4 million watch hours. So putting those in proportion there, roughly a quarter of my lifetime watch time came from the last year. That sounds like a good statistic to me. I am rather happy with that. My viewership has remained consistent, and I am, overall happy with that. And I'm thankful you all are here and watching my stuff every day. That legitimately brings me great joy. I've said this many times in many places, but when people come up to me at a Magic Con or an event of some kind, they're like, hey, I fall asleep to your videos every night, or hey, I watch you on my lunch hour. Those are the greatest possible compliments to me, because that means that you have carved out a portion of your day to watch my stuff every day, and I am a part of your day-to-day life. And maybe I'm keeping you sane at work, or maybe you have trouble sleeping and you just throw me on as background noise at night. Either way, thanks. It means a lot. This might sound a little weird if you're not kind of super familiar with like YouTube inside baseball and analytics and pricing and such. But despite the size of my channel, the ad revenue from YouTube itself is surprisingly low. And if I were to state the number that I make on YouTube itself, I think every person would be like, that's it? It is less than I was making fresh out of college, for example. It is not super viable to live off of YouTube ad revenue alone, even as someone of my size. And I consider myself to have a wildly successful YouTube channel. So when I, at the beginning of every video, mention by name the person who has done a donation deck list for the day, I am truly thankful for that because it is supplemental income that makes what I do possible. Just full stop. Without the support of viewers like you in that PBS style, this content would not be happening. And I want to take this moment to sincerely thank everyone who supports me financially in some way. While I don't care about my viewership numbers going up, because I think I have found my audience, I do care about the number of people who support me directly. I do care about that number going up. So shout out to all 195 people who are currently supporting me via YouTube members. They get early access to all of my videos, as well as Discord server privileges. And the 158 people who are throwing me a little bit of money on Patreon. They also get Discord access, but unfortunately, due to multi-platform integration stuff, it's actually surprisingly hard to give early access to YouTube videos. It requires setting it up in all sorts of different ways, and it's more of a pain in the butt than it is to be worth it. So if you want early video access, support me on YouTube. If you just want to throw $5 my way every month, you can do that on Patreon, and it's all good. The Discord community is great. It is a very nice place. There's some weird rituals that you have to get used to, where we greet each other frequently at different times of days. But once you get past that, once you get used to that, it's a pretty good place. There's people in there who have expertise in formats that I don't, who are constantly giving each other deck building advice. There's pretty regularly a group of people who get together and stream cube drafts within my channel, or are otherwise working on brewing in various formats. And generally speaking, it has been a delight to interact with people within my Discord server. I think there's somewhere between 300 and 350 people currently in my Discord server, although there's a handful of very active users who tend to make the place feel very, very cozy and welcoming. So I think that's what I have to say about some basic stats here. So why don't we look at what performed the best on the channel? You kind of forget how long a year is until you go back and look at things from early on in the year. So surprising to me, when I looked at my top deck from the year, it was actually a Leyline of the Guild Pack Scion of Draco deck from right when that tech was breaking at about 30,000 views. So to give you some perspective on what views are like on my channel, when I look back at a video, if that video has less than 10,000 views, that is my something went wrong number, where something about the video viewers didn't like. Maybe it was a format that they didn't enjoy. Maybe it was a deck that they had seen too much of, but that's usually my alarm that the viewers did not like that. And then a regular performance video might get somewhere between 10 and 15,000. And when we start going to 18, 20,000, that's when I know that I've got a banger. So for example, the very silly deck where we played with a whole bunch of, what is the slime card called? Slime Against Humanity, there we go. Where we just memed with a bunch of Slime Against Humanities. That one was a banger. We had a handful of successful videos brewing around cards that were unique. So Breakout was one of those things that was very, very interesting to brew around with. Talk about Lumra in a minute. But then trying out some of the Modern Horizons stuff ended up being really, really good. with Null Drifter, Stifle Not in July being very popular, Eldrazi in one of its first iterations in June being very popular as well. And then there were a couple other times where we memed pretty hard and did well with it, doing something like picking up a trophy with Scorpec Lord, or doing the Legacy Sorintel Vein Ripper thing. Occasionally I get comments like, hey, why do you spoil things? Why do you say, undefeated? Why do you put a trophy in the thumbnail? And it's because the videos where we do that end up going very, very well as far as content creation goes. So I know you might be pretty averse to spoilers, but when I throw that trophy in there, when I put, undefeated, unstoppable in that title, in that thumbnail, it helps me out a ton in terms of analytics. And every time that somebody leaves me a like, hey, don't do this, I hate this, I just copy and paste a tweet that I have saved that is just like, here is the explanation for why I do this. It's actually very, very important to my analytics that I do so. When you have a video that is hot and you get a lot of new eyes on that content, that is one of those times that those YouTube algorithm is going to push out those videos further, and that's one of those things that draws new people into my content, which, as I said, is not happening as much anymore because so many of the people who play Legacy already know who I am and are already subscribed to my channel. If you're watching this and you're not subscribed to my channel, just saying, good way to support me. Oh, and I said I'd talk about Lumra, so let's talk about Lumra for a minute. Lands has been an archetype that my viewers recently have made it very clear that I can inject lands into their bloodstream every day and they will keep enjoying it and coming back for more. So in August, we played an insane Lumra Living Wish lands build that was wildly successful and very intricate, and that one got 27,000 views. And then I think in December, we started playing around with Lumra again, and that original August video, I had said, best league of the year, not clickbait. And then I think I used something very similar to that as my title in December, or maybe it was early January, where like the Lumra leagues had just been wild. And not everyone is an absolute banger, but pretty consistently they have been good. And then the one other video that's probably worth mentioning here is the Legacy is Broken, Let's Fix It video, where I talked in great details about some of the problems with Legacy over the summer. That video was from July 26th, where I talked in detail about how Psychic Frog needed to be banned in Legacy. People ate that video up, and generally speaking, when the format gets real broken and bannings approach, I might try to make more videos like that because people found them useful and insightful. But I will probably not do too many like metagame review type things. People did not watch that nearly as much when I produced that type of content. But more on content plans a little bit later on. All right, let's talk about finances one more time. I want to talk about my sponsors for a minute, and not in the ad read sort of way, but just the more human, like what are these people to me? So my two primary sponsors right now are moxfield.com and Tales of Adventure, aka TOA. And their sponsorship is one of the biggest things that allows me to travel to events like Magic Cons. Just consistently knowing that I have a small amount of money coming from them every month that helps support extraneous expenses is a really, really big deal. Especially for the bigger trips like Vegas. The numbers on things in Vegas are rough. If you've never been, I vividly remember ordering an apple juice at breakfast, and the apple juice, like a small glass of apple juice, was $6, and I was just like, "This is how they get you. This is where all the money evaporates. It's the apple juice." And there were times where I stayed at Magic Cons where the room to be, anywhere close to the venue was multiple hundreds of dollars per night. And I really want to go to Magic Cons. I really want to meet fans. More on that in a minute. And the sponsorships from places like Moxfield and Tales of Adventure make it so that I don't need to be sweating it when I, book a plane ticket and a hotel for 4 days or whatever to make those events happen. Harry and the other guys at Moxfield have been absolutely fantastic to work with. I have worked with other deck building websites in the past. Moxfield is just objectively the best. If my sponsorship with them ended, I would likely continue to use their website. It just really is that good. So when I am, replaying one of those, I think I have like 8 different Moxfield ads recorded. If you're like, I've heard this 1,000 times, Phil, I don't need to know about Moxfield anymore. Just know that some people maybe haven't heard that ad before, and that's why it's there. Great website, support them fully. Similarly, working with TOA has been great. Caffrey is awesome. I have sold them a lot of my personal cards when I, open up packs and don't need things or needed to clear out an old trade binder. Like they are going to TOA. The buyers seem to be good folks. I have had nothing but positive experiences with them. And the ability to show up to a MagicCon, pick up the cards I need, sleeve them up, and just get playing games with people rather than having to hunt down cards has been a massive plus for me personally. I have some other affiliations with other companies. I frequently do ad reads with Into the AM. I've done occasional one-shots with other people advertising events or products, and those have been great as well. I am not actively, seeking sponsorship from other places at this time, but my email is widely available. If you've got something that you want to plug, let's talk. I think I'm pretty affordable. I don't tend to shill my own merch. I have merch. It's linked in every description. If you want that, it's there. I make like $5 on every t-shirt or whatever that is sold. So that's more of a, you want this for you. If you want this to rep the brand, go for it. I do also have support from Dragon Shield. They have been sending me a lot of product. And while I'm not actively sponsored by them in a financial capacity, that's why there's no ad reads for them in videos, I do have a promo code from them that I have linked in every video description as well. If you ever need some Dragon Shields, you can use my code to save a little bit, and I'll get a kickback on that as well. Just full disclosure here, most of the stuff that I get from Dragon Shields, I give away. I go to events like MagicCons with a suitcase full of stuff. I try to bring like an extra quiver full of sleeves or whatever, and I just give them away to people. And occasionally I'll go down to my local game store and just give away a bunch of stuff. Part of being sponsored by companies is getting the ability to go and give things back to the community. And a lot of the funding that I get from places like Moxfield and TOA, I turn those into products for fans. So last year I got stickers commissioned and I got stickers printed to hand out to fans. A few years before that, I got the guy who does the art from MTG Goldfish to make me a bunch of tokens that people are very, very thankful for. And I have treasure tokens at every MagicCon, and I have a very limited number of Initiative and Monarch ones left. So you get those, you're a little bit lucky or special. All right, so let's talk about those in-person events then. So I have gone to every US MagicCon that has happened since I felt safe going to Magic events. They started up right as some of the COVID stuff was dying down, and I didn't go to the first thing that was like a MagicCon. I believe there was a first one in Vegas. I don't remember if it was officially called a MagicCon or if it was called like a Magic 30 celebration or what. But everyone, starting with, I think Minneapolis was the first one I went to, I have been to. So I have been to Minneapolis and Philly and Chicago and Vegas a couple of times. And every single MagicCon has been a delight for different reasons each time. And I continue on planning to carve out time for every US MagicCon. And we'll talk about the overseas one. It's on my bucket list to get my passport renewed. Mine lapsed somewhat recently, and I need to have one. When a MagicCon Japan happens, I might need that. So that means on my schedule for this year, I have MagicCon Chicago, February 21st to 23rd. Vegas, June 20th to 22nd, and Atlanta, September 26th to 28th. Those are not the only things that I am planning on attending, but those are like the high priority, I take days off of work for those events. There's some other things that I'm going to be doing. They're not like booked yet or anything, but I am trying to play some games for fun just in my off time. Believe it or not, I don't always just, record, 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 record. And so I am trying to go to some conventions to just be a gamer and play some games, especially Pathfinder 2nd edition. More on that a little bit later. But I'm trying to remember to make some time for me. So the girlfriend and I want to go to some conventions this year. So I'm going to try to hit up things in the, drivable from Charlotte, North Carolina distance. So, be that Atlanta or Virginia or whatever, I want to get around a little bit and do some events for fun where maybe I'm not one of the sponsored attendees. Currently, I'm looking at MythicCon West in the very tail end of February and beginning of March. There's a Star City Games RC in Charlotte in March that if they've got some Commander or some stuff like that going on there, I might go to and just kind of hang out. My desire to play in tournaments has gone down a lot since I went down the content creation rabbit hole. And it's much more important for me now to go to things where I can hang out with fans and be social with people. I don't care about the clout anymore. I don't care about making a name for myself. I don't care about proving myself. I've done all of that stuff already. That's not super interesting to me anymore. So I might play in a tournament if it is very, very convenient for me, or if I am sponsored to attend that event. But generally speaking, I am much more interested in playing fun brews in Legacy for my channel and teaching people things than I am trying to win a trophy. And that has been the case for years. And I think it's just important to verbalize that from time to time. Winning is great. Winning is fun, but it's not all there is to Magic. And I am much more interested in like, oh my gosh, you're Phil Gallagher. Like, can I have your autograph? Can we hang out for a couple of minutes? Can we chat about Legacy? And yeah, I love spending, 5 minutes chatting with some random strangers about Legacy. And every once in a great while, I'll start getting like the look in a restaurant or something, and I'll kind of see the whispers, and it's like, is that Phil? I think that's Phil. And when I see that happening, I'll tend to try to go up and say hello and see what's going on. And I've met some really, really cool and interesting people doing that. I've also done some official collaboration with both Wizards of the Coast and Daybreak Games over the past year. Daybreak Games being the company that is currently in charge of everything with Magic Online. So if you saw that I am more frequently playing on the DB_ThrabenU account than my personal Medea Magica account, that is because Daybreak Games has, graced me with an official account that more or less has all of the cards available on it for me to play with. Every once in a while, I will go and play a league on the other account for some random reason. And when that happens, it probably has something to do with weird card availability issues or something like that. I got a preview card last year. That was something that I was never expecting to do. That was kind of one of those far off dreams that I didn't think was obtainable. And it was obtainable. And it was really neat to do that. And beyond that, I got to be an ambassador for a Magic the Gathering set for MTG Foundations. And that gave me some really cool opportunities. I didn't really talk about it a lot on the main channel, but I got to give away a lot of product as a result of being chosen as an ambassador. I got to go down to my local game store, hold kind of a cool night where I gave away a whole bunch of stuff. I got to give a person who had never played Magic but was interested in Magic the MTG Foundation's beginner box and say, like, here, in this box is literally everything that you could possibly need to learn how the game works. And that gave me the warm and fuzzies. At just about every MagicCon, no, I think at every MagicCon, I have had a signing booth where I got to meet fans, give away tokens, sign stuff, and people had a designated time and place to find me. And Brian, aka Bosch and Roll, was usually by my side for all of those. and that's been awesome. At Magic Cons, I try to split my time. Some of that is like professional networking and meeting other content creators and, saying like, "Hey, I would love to be a guest on your Commander show if you are looking for guests." There's some of that sort of stuff. But I tend to try to spend my time at Magic Cons just in the ranks, just at random tables with a bunch of nobodies playing Magic. I think it is very important to have reminders of what the average Magic player is like, and I think those reality checks are important. That gives me perspective on, hey, what do I actually need to explain to people? Do people know what this keyword is? Do people understand how this mechanic works? And it's just really cool to meet people. And a lot of times, people will give me drawings or tokens or things. And I met people from places all around the world. I met a chunk of the Brazilian magic scene at the last, I believe it was MagicCon Vegas. And that's really cool. And I'll try to continue to have cool treats and giveaways and stuff as I can. I would like to do a little bit more charity stuff. A couple years back, I believe I raised about $68,000 one year, and I would like to get back to doing some of that. It just takes a lot of work to organize those sorts of things, and that is something that I am very, very happy to do when I have time, but I am doing a little bit of a balancing act between the part-time teaching job, this recording job, which I treat as my primary job. It is priority one. And then also just having a basic personal life and free time and making sure my girlfriend isn't ignored and all of that sort of stuff. All right, let's talk about the secondary YouTube channel that I run. And this is something I should probably do a better job of plugging. I don't mind plugging my sponsors who are playing me, but it always feels weird to just plug my own stuff and be like, hey, buy my merch and that sort of stuff. I don't like doing that as much. So I have a second YouTube channel, ThrabenU_gaming, where I am currently posting Pathfinder 2nd Edition content. Pathfinder being another like D20 role-playing game like Dungeons and Dragons. I used to have a weekly Dungeons and Dragons game that has transitioned to a Pathfinder 2nd Edition game, and I feel very, very confident in saying that I think Pathfinder is a better system as a whole, and it has been very, very enjoyable for me. If you are like a high strategy person and you want really intricate combats where your decisions matter, Pathfinder 2e might be a system for you. This was something that started out as a passion project. I just really, really like the system, and people weren't making the sort of strategy videos that I thought should exist in the system. So it was kind of one of those, fine, I'll do it myself sort of moments where I apply the same sort of like deep dive content, analytic, or rather like analytical thinking and analysis on stuff, and I try to make what I consider to be some very good content. And people liked it a lot. This is the first video that I made for that channel, which has a whopping 7.4 thousand views. Which, while that would be a very unsuccessful video for me normally, that is an insane video for the first video on a new YouTube channel. Now, none of my other videos have performed quite as well as that first one, which is okay. The first one I shared in a whole bunch of places, and then a handful of people reshared, like, oh my gosh, my favorite Magic creator is making Pathfinder content too now. Check this out. And I got a lot of like analytics exposure on that first time around. This is the sort of thing where a couple times a month I might push out a video when I have something to say. This is not going to be I can drop content on here every day sort of place. It doesn't financially make sense for me to do so. Just putting some numbers on this because I think this is funny more than anything else. In the last 30 days, my Pathfinder YouTube channel has made me $30. Meaning that the time I put into producing videos for that channel is certainly far below minimum wage. But that's okay. That's not why we're doing it. Paizo is the company that makes Pathfinder 2nd Edition, and I do have direct contacts with people at Paizo. They are giving me new books for free as they come out. I'm getting PDF versions of things so that I am able to make content and kind of take a look at things and push out content while it's still hot. Generally speaking, I think I'm starting to find my niche and how I want to make Pathfinder content and kind of what I want to be doing with that content. So there will be more of that in the future, but that secondary channel exists fully as a passion project and not something that I expect to be lucrative in any capacity, nor will I be trying to aggressively monetize that secondary channel. If, it buys me a burger or something every month, we'll call that good enough. I'm just obsessed over the system. And sometimes you just have to do things for fun. It's kind of messed up that the things that I do for fun are just like more recording and analysis, but that's a me thing, and I'm good with it. All right, let's talk about content plans for 2025. Generally speaking, you are going to see mostly the same sorts of content that you are seeing now. That is legacy gameplay content. In the past couple of weeks in particular, there has been a lot of modern content on the channel. People were very, very excited about modern unbannings. I received a large number of modern donation deck lists, and that is something that I expect to be more of a short term thing. And indeed, the modern donation deck lists have slowed down, which is something that I'm good with. Generally speaking, my sweet spot for the channel is probably 4 to 5 days of Legacy a week, and occasionally one deck of some other format. I don't mind playing some Vintage or some Modern or whatever, but I do want Legacy to remain the focus of my channel. And while there have been a lot of weeks recently where there have been 3 Legacy videos and 2 Modern videos, I do not expect that to be the trend moving forward. As always, the people who are doing the donation deck lists are largely dictating what is on the channel, but there are a handful of people who are doing something like preparing for a modern RC, and so they want to see some more modern content, or they're excited about Splinter Twin, or this black-white Death and Taxes Blink style deck that is very good in modern. And I'm happy to do some things to help those people who want to see those decks or want, an outside view. How bad is my deck really? I am not a modern expert. Every modern league that I play, you see on the channel. I don't play very much Magic in my off time, and when I do, it's almost always Commander or some other casual format of some kind. I cube draft more than anything else when I have the opportunity to. I don't really want to be accepting brew challenges for modern. I don't really feel like I have the expertise to do that. And when you see me playing around a card in modern that is like banned or not actually a part of the format, that is a great indication of that. Someone on a recent video was like, "Phil, For the Air Lingos is not modern legal," and I was like, "There's no way to know. How could we possibly know that?" It's really hard keeping up with what cards are or aren't in certain formats when you don't play those formats regularly. And some of the supplemental sets make their way into modern and some of them aren't. And that has been overall confusing because there's frequently something like set name and set name commander, and then the set name commander cards don't go to modern or something like that. It's a tricky prospect. I am still teaching part-time, doing part-time middle school work as a Latin teacher. That is not projected to change in the short term. I'm going to talk about that more in a minute, but I want to kind of go through content plans first. That does mean that over the summer, I am going to have more time than normal. And during the summer, I might try to push a little bit harder and, put out an extra video a week or something like that, assuming that people are, supporting me with things like donation deck lists and keeping the queue nice and thick so that I have things to record. I might try to put out some extra videos. Give something back to the people. And on that note, I just want to say, thank you to the people who are submitting deck ideas. I love doing dealer's choice donation deck lists. I love searching through and finding some interesting things to record with. But I put out a lot of videos. I put out 5 videos a week, every week. I don't think I missed any videos last year. There were 1 or 2 days where I did talking head videos like this, but generally speaking, this is my job. I try not to miss recording slots unless there's an absolute emergency of some kind. but I can't possibly come up with a different deck to play 5 days a week for an entire year, and I just simply could not do that on my own and keep it interesting. So sometimes do the brews fall flat and not work? Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes do I tune things and make it worse? Occasionally. I might have been at fault once or twice for some bad brews, but generally speaking, the things that we see on this channel work. And it's very, very common for me to do 3-2 or better while playing these leagues, even when, I am playing with Ham Sandwich Stompy or whatever it is that you all have submitted me to. So just legitimately, thanks for helping me find the things to play on this channel. I comb through a lot of deck lists, I do a lot of research, but you can't always brew stuff by scratch from yourself. And a lot of the wild things that happened on this channel didn't just come from this brain. The Zoyowa Rakdos deck that I recently 5-0'd with was a brainchild of my entire Discord community. Shoutouts to Kath in particular for doing a lot of the heavy lifting on making that video so successful. So legitimately thank you to everyone in that regard. I don't have any plans on expanding the content in any unique ways at this time. So I'm not planning on doing anything like, oh, I'm going to do paper magic now, or, oh, I'm going to bring a lot of Commander to the channel. I don't plan on making any major content changes in that regard. So if you like what you're seeing on the channel now, you are likely to see a lot more content like it in 2025. And I think that's all I have to say regarding content for now. All right, in the final section of this video, I want to talk about some things that are very, very important to this channel, but it's going to involve a discussion of American politics. So if you don't want to hear this is your time to leave, but American politics is going to directly affect this channel in multiple direct ways, and I want people to understand that. A quick note here, if you leave any sort of keep the politics out of Magic comments on this video, you will be removed from this channel and you will lose the opportunity to interact with me on YouTube. This is me being very real and very human with you and talking about some very real concerns that impact me and my job directly. So there's your fair warning. You don't want to hear this. This is your time to leave. So I am a part-time teacher. And the reason that I am still teaching part-time is because being a YouTuber doesn't come with benefits. Being a YouTuber does not come with sick days. Being a YouTuber does not come with retirement. And even though I make more money doing YouTube stuff than I do teaching, because I'm now on a part-time teacher's salary, and a teacher's salary is not great to start with, let me tell you. Even though I make more money as a content creator than a teacher, being a teacher is giving me a large amount of stability in my life. I am on a very expensive prescription medicine. I don't talk about it a lot, but I have a medical issue. And that medical issue was something that suppresses my immune system. And during COVID, I was, terrified. I had to work from home on a doctor's orders. And currently, President Donald Trump is attempting to dismantle the Department of Education. The Department of Education funds my teaching job. And if the Department of Education crumbles, my school and my state are very likely to lose any national level funding that is happening. There is a pending executive order at the time of this recording that is going to attempt to remove the Department of Education, which is illegal for an executive order to do, but that does not seem to matter in current American politics, unfortunately. So I am in a position where potentially the school that I work for could implode overnight. Its funding could disappear. And, I don't know if the state could all by itself pick up the funding that is necessary to prop up my school. I live in a rural, low income area, generally speaking. We, as a school, serve a very large population of impoverished students. we give them a great education. I work at one of the better schools in the entire state. We teach a lot of kids who don't have a lot at home. There's a lot of kids who receive free or reduced cost lunch programs at our school, for example. And I am professionally, as a teacher, currently in a position where I don't know if my job is going to exist next year. I don't know what is going to happen to my teaching life, my teaching career. I don't know if teacher is really going to be an American job in another year. And that is very, very disconcerting and scary on a number of different levels. And I don't just mean the financial implications to me, I mean the future of the children of this country. Private schools are expensive. I went to a private school as a kid, not for my entire career, but for my middle school career. I went to a private school. We could afford it then. Um, there were sacrifices made to do that, but we could afford it. And a lot of families aren't in the position where they can send their kids to a private school. And I don't know what's going to happen to these kids locally. I don't know if their parents are going to need to somehow attempt to pick up the slack. I don't know if we're going to, find an influx of funding from somewhere else. I don't know what's going to happen to my teaching job. And the reason that I mention this in this video is that financially, I am currently very, very comfortable between my teaching job and my YouTube job and the support of viewers like you for kicking $5 my way every month or something like that. I have a stable life. I'm paying a mortgage. I have a house. I can take care of my 2 cats and my girlfriend, and we have a good life. But overnight, my healthcare might go away. My retirement might go away, and a very large portion of my yearly pay might evaporate overnight. So, if at some point in the future I suddenly announce the fact that I am going full-time content creator, it is a direct result of American politics going south and my day job, side job, however you want to think of it, being directly eliminated as a result of the current administration's policies. And there are other impacts on this channel directly because of the current administration's policies. One of the biggest ones being large tariffs on goods from other countries, with China being the most notable one here. So if you have been to a Magic event and you see tons and tons and tons of creators handing out tokens, most of those tokens are actually printed in China and then shipped to the United States. So if you're like, oh man, I've got a box of really, really cool tokens, most of that stuff is actually done overseas. And if these large tariffs continue, it becomes much more financially difficult to actually make those things for fans. I believe the tariff percentage that is being thrown around is 25%. So if all of the stuff that you are, importing is 25% more expensive, that's rough as far as a business expense goes. So I probably have enough tokens to get myself through the 2025 Magic Cons that I intend on going to. So I'm just going to try to delay ordering that sort of stuff right now. But there are some very real tangible things that your Magic creators are using that are coming from overseas. Dragon Shields, for example, just calling out one of my casual sponsors, they are, I believe, based in Denmark. So if these wild tariffs continue, then a lot of products that you as Magic players and we as content creators are using all of the time are going to end up going up very substantially. So currently, nothing on my end should change. But the American politics right now are currently very scary. And overnight, a portion of my career might vanish. Some products that you all are using might become very, very expensive. And there's a lot of other stuff that I could say here, but that is sort of the Magic relevant portion of it in terms of like how current American politics is impacting my life. There are, some more tinfoil hat, speculation things that might impact things further down the line, but we'll cross those bridges when we get to it. So I'm currently good. I have talked with my current school administrators, and we've got plans to continue everything as normal next year as of right now. But just know that I'm recording this snippet, and honestly, this entire video as a whole, just as like the hey, heads up, things might get weird. I might lose my job. I might become more dependent on you all for support than I have ever been. So, if you see me in the future asking for financial support because, my job situation has changed, it's because I just lost healthcare and benefits and retirement. And hopefully that doesn't actually happen. But, every time I open my news app, I am just kind of waiting to see, like, is the DOE still there? Okay, it is still there. I still have funding. So that's kind of where I'm at. And my girlfriend works in the mental health field. She receives well, depending on which job she's worked a couple of jobs, but a lot of her funding has come from federal grants. And if those federal grants die out, which unfortunately is the case for a lot of people right now, her job may disappear as well. So that's the state of what it is like to be an American right now. And we will see how these next couple of years go. But let me end this video by saying this. Despite the future being uncertain, despite there being some things that could go wrong for me personally, that could go wrong for us collectively as a country, for all of you who are Americans alongside me, my channel at the end of the day is more successful than ever, larger than ever. I have more opportunities than ever because I am working with companies like Moxfield and TOA, Wizards of the Coast directly, Daybreak Games. And at the end of the day, I'm probably going to be fine. Will there be some bumpy parts along the way? Yeah, absolutely. But that's kind of life sometimes, right? We'll work through it. We'll get past it. And I wish you all the best of luck in the coming year. Hope you don't need too much of that luck, but I wish it to you nevertheless. Folks, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day, and here's to looking to hopefully a great 2025 Legacy. Maybe some more bans in March, maybe Legacy is a little stale sometimes, but generally speaking, I am still enjoying recording my daily videos with the crazy brews that you all submit. So keep it up, and thank you. See ya!